identified certain areas where there are gaps and want to fill those gaps. So we've reached out to some of the best around the world to partner with us to try and ensure that we keep promoting the MSME space, vis-a-vis creating more jobs for the MSME space and widening the scope of support for access to funding and how governance is run all over the world. Every serious-minded country, what they now do is to seek the partnership of the private sector to get things done. So where the public sector is not able to do anything or achieve anything on its own, they dig deep and put a handshake across to the private sector to get things done. So Nigeria is no different from all these nations.
Yeah, welcome back. So yes, we'll be talking about those and more. We're joined here by Dr. Charles Odi, who is the DG and CEO of SMEDAN. Good morning. Thank you for coming on.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
I know. I mean, World MSME Day is today. And of course, there's a huge focus on Nigeria. But ever since you assumed the office, how's the office been? What's been going on?
So it's been 8 months. And one of the biggest realization is that, government is doing a lot, but the people that government is doing what it's doing for are not aware. So the reality is bridging that gap between government and its audience, making sure that all what government is doing is made available to the people that government is doing it for.
I mean, you were involved in MSME even before you got in here. You were doing several programs, several things before this. What have you noticed as the fundamental difference? Could that be one of them?
So from being in the private sector, it wasn't very glaring. But now being in government is glaring to say, okay, so government is doing this. If we take a look at some of our products or some of the programs, we have something called the One Local Government, One Product program. So where we're supposed to identify one product in each of the 774 local governments for local consumption and also for exports. I didn't know that when I was in the private sector. We have something called the National Business Skills Development Initiative, where you train businesses and you give them empowerment. I didn't know that when I was in the private sector. So a couple of those kind of access, in one word, access, the democratization of access that government has done is not very glaring to a lot of the MSME players.
What would you say is responsible for the disconnect?
So we conducted a town hall, and I was asking, and many of them were like, listen, don't talk to us through the National Television Authority. Don't talk to us through the different mediums you've been talking to us through. Come and talk to us through social media. Come and talk to us through our influencers. Many of our small businesses have associations. They have cooperatives, right? And so what we're trying to do is get the heads of those associations and the heads of those cooperatives in the room, get them to have direct communication with us as the development organization for SMEs in the country, so that they are carried along, and that way they can cascade information to members of their organizations.
Yeah, well, that is what you're doing to bridge it now.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of, but what do you think was responsible for the disconnect in the first place?
The medium of communication. The medium of communication, clearly. So a lot of people have migrated to the traditional forms of communication, to social media, digital media. They're consuming a lot on the go. And so they want us to use platforms like this to also connect to them. Because the majority of our medium businesses, I conducted a study, I just wanted to find out, okay, so if you're talking about digital, what about the traditional forms of media? A lot of people watch Sunrise Daily, so thank you for inviting us. And, we're using Sunrise Daily to talk to, especially those are the medium, we're small and medium, and the small is divided into nano and micro. So a couple of the medium guys, a lot of them watch Sunrise Daily. So using these platforms, using digital media, using social media to connect to them, and also the gatekeepers, the influencers, the heads of their BMOs, the head of their cooperatives, make sure that they're all in the room.
Yeah, one would have thought that before now, those people would have been, trying to get a leg in the room in the first instance. I mean, one of the things that media does is that they get a leg in the door for the people. That's what they do. So if they have been there all along and you're saying this is where you should talk to us through, these are our channels of communication, is it that government has shut the door to those people in the past? That's why the messages weren't getting to them? Or there was no real attempt to try and get a leg in the door to government circles to actually know what was going on in certain areas?
Now, so what would have happened in time past was that government has done a lot, and government is actually still engaging these people. But I think that there was a break in the communication, right? So maybe the heads of the BMOs got the information and they didn't cascade as they should. But this administration is being run so that the son of a nobody becomes somebody without knowing anybody. Mm-hmm. So what is largely responsible for that is using technology to scale. So right now we're using more technology to scale, we're also not neglecting the people that we used to neglect in time past. So if, as the head of a BMO or the head of BMO's business member organization or the head of a cooperative, you want to now, be a gatekeeper and keep that kind of information, we're democratizing that access so that if you do not disseminate as you should, we use technology to use social media, we use digital media. We even use as little as WhatsApp to connect to everyone that we need to connect.
What's changing already from what you can see?
What I can see right now is that before now, I'll give you a story. We had a program ranging up to the matching fund program. We're matching funds with Jai's Bank. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that. Go ahead. And we had to the tune of 612 million. Only 12 entrepreneurs were able to access that money. And the money was at the bank for a long time.
Only 12?
Only 12 entrepreneurs.
612 million.
Only 12 entrepreneurs. So there was buckets of problems. The first is the awareness. So when I started to find out, how the small businesses in the ecosystem are aware? Many of them were not aware. And those that were aware, it was easier for the camel to pass through the eye of the needle for them to access the fund. So we were like, let us break it down, right? What do the small businesses need to access this fund? And before long, we started to, so right now, we signed another MOU with another bank to the tune of 5 billion naira, and we've gotten 187 entrepreneurs access that fund. Close to 200 million has been disbursed. It is progress from what used to be 600 million to 12 entrepreneurs. So that's what I'm seeing changing. Financial literacy, the access to the finance for small businesses is being democratized.
So, because I know that there will be a lot of pressure on your office, especially now, considering the economic downturn. Yes. People want to do things. There are several people who think cottage industries, MSMEs, will be the huge determining factor, distinguishing factor to us taking the next step economically or not, if it succeeds. So now maybe you should talk a little further now in terms of, there are several funds, we understand. I think FG launched another one. The Ministry of Trade was talking about all of that. That's huge. I think it's about 200 billion?
Yes.
Wow. What's going on with that one?
Yes, so right now we know that in this part of the country, in this part of the world, finance is expensive, also very scarce. So what His Excellency the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had done was to earmark cheap financing for small businesses. So 200 billion, 75 billion of that goes to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, or manufacturers, right? Where they can access as much as $1 billion naira at a single-digit interest rate. Another 75 billion goes to our small and medium enterprises. And in his magnanimity, the president was gracious to earmark 50 billion in terms of grants to nano businesses. And our classification at SMEDAN, nano businesses are businesses that have less than 3 million naira turnover and less than 3 employees. So, a mom shop, someone doing some business from their kitchen top of their house, the woman at the corner of the street selling something. So those people will get a capital injection in forms of grants to those nano businesses.
How much?
50,000 naira.
50,000 naira.
Yes, 50,000 naira, and this is it's supposed to go to 1 million small businesses. At the last count, about 2 weeks when we sit and we review these things, close to 250,000 nano businesses have gotten these funds. Now, what is
250,000, you
yes,
said?
250,000 have gotten these funds. And before the end of this month, at least 500,000 of these nano businesses should have gotten this fund. This fund is being disbursed by the Bank of Industry. Because we don't have a financial institution yet at SMEDAN, so the funds are being disbursed through the Bank of Industry. So what is...
You say yes. Is this something you're thinking of?
Yes, so we have actually applied to the Central Bank of Nigeria to get a microfinance license for SMEDAN, so that we can help to coordinate some of this direct developmental finance, but more importantly, we want to set up a digital platform to help our small business, enable the small businesses to it. And we need like a payment gateway, so which is why we had applied for a microfinance license.
So what is the plan for, because I like to imagine that if any of those, first of all, the small businesses, if they get those funds, the 50,000, they want to sustain and be in business. Does SMEDAN find out or ask questions as to how are we sure this is sustainable? What are you doing to make sure you don't just get it today and you can't come tomorrow, you can't, survive, giving advice, all of those scenarios? What do you do? Do you just disburse the funds and that's it?
No. So thank you for that question. So what we've done is we've set up business development service providers in all the 774 local governments. So what these business development service providers do is they offer consult to these small businesses. Okay. In many cases at no cost. In some cases where they need to incur some cost, the small businesses are regulated to pay a certain amount of money. Now, so what these BDSPs do is that they go in, they advise the small businesses after they before they get the funding and after they get the funding. Before they get the funding in terms of capacity development, right? We train you. We understand where you are. We organize a business clinic. Where are you right now? What will you need this money for, right? And then you get this money. And then afterwards, we also come and monitor where you've been, what impact this money has done. And we're releasing an impact report. I'm hoping that you can invite me again so we can discuss that. But in addition to that, it's not only okay to just release the funds, but what's happening is we need to create a conducive environment for these businesses to thrive. So which is why His Excellency the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, instituted something called the National MSME Council. She chairs it, right? And at the different states, the different state governors are the different chairs of this National Council of SMEs. And what this council is supposed to do is to help to create conducive environment in each of the states. So if there's a problem with a state, with a small business in a state, what happens is that the small business escalates to the commissioner. If the commissioner cannot solve it, it goes to the state council of SMEs. And at that state council of SMEs, we try to resolve it. And if they can't resolve it, it goes to the governor. If the governor still hasn't done anything, then the escalation comes to us at the secretariat.
Is that not going to be, I hope it's not a long process?
It's not a long process. It's just to make sure that, it's just to hold accountability at every point in time. And every 2 weeks, I go to His Excellency the Vice President with a report to say, Your Excellency, this is what is happening in Lagos. This is what is happening in Ogun State. This is why we're losing businesses in Kaduna. This is why we're losing businesses in Benue. And this is what we think can be done. And then, at that level, who is the chairman of NEC, who is the chairman of this council, he can make some informed decisions by, just making sure that, a lot of things are sorted.
But some of the challenges that businesses face, and I don't know if the smaller businesses, I think they'll face the same thing. Once just open a little door, government agencies, they will almost harass you out of business. You have to pay this, bring this, all kinds of agencies who are just there. Only sometimes you wonder why. Secondly, sometimes, I don't know if you have this complaint from those businesses, those same government agencies will tell you, if you don't give me this amount, this percentage, look, I'm sorry, you can't get this. Do you get this kind of complaint, and what happens?
Absolutely. So I'm speaking about where we are right now in the FCT. There's an area council called AMAC, right, where we've gotten a lot of complaints that officials come and they say that they are from AMAC and they ask for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. If not, they threaten to close the store. At our town hall meeting, I'd set our small businesses, get the names of the people, because what had happened is we called the head of the area councils in the FCT, and we reported this to say that, listen, this is what's been happening to our small businesses in AMAC. And the head of the area council said, listen, we do not know these people.
Really?
We don't know these people.
Wow.
They've come with fake identities, hoping to tax the small businesses. So when we had that town hall meeting and we spoke to our small business, and one of the small business owner decided to challenge the officer who has come from AMAC. And before we knew, the guy fled. He ran away.
Wow.
So what has happened is that all these people have just come in the names of this government agency to tax the small businesses. But that's not to say that it doesn't happen. When it happens, that's why we set up the council, so that you escalate. If there's a regulatory problem, we can address it at the state level.
I think, sorry to jump in, I think one of the things that government can do is, whatever processes that businesses need, whether it's small, big, put it on your site. Let everybody know these are the things you need. If anybody's asking you for this, don't give them. It makes life easier for people.
It does.
And businesses.
It does. But again, our small businesses, let's take another instance, NAFDAC, for instance. The process to getting a NAFDAC registration is less than 100,000 in one of the licenses. But what happens is that small businesses now employ consultants who charge them close to $1 million to get that license. And then what NAFDAC is trying to do, and that's not to say that, there's not a lot of backlog, but NAFDAC is trying to digitize the processes. Because again, there are lots of people producing fake products that are affecting, or, they're affecting even the bottom line of the revenue of the small businesses that they imitate, but also affecting the health of the people that consume it. So they've tried to digitize that process. And what we're doing at SMEDAN is to make sure that we shake hands with NAFDAC to make sure that the process is easier, the digitization is easier. Because if you ask people consuming, they'll tell you that, listen, NAFDAC is an issue. But when we sat with the professor, DG of NAFDAC, she said, listen, Charles, it's not that NAFDAC is an issue, it's that our small businesses are now using consultants, and small businesses are not going through this part. So we're like, okay, let us solve the problem. We will take NAFDAC digitization to all of our states. So at our state offices, at the 6 states and the FCT, we'll have NAFDAC processes there. So as a small business owner, walk into there. Also, we're setting up labs where NAFDAC would certify. So as a small business owner, you don't even bother yourself with buying the products or buying the machines and buying the lab. Come there and then use the facilities at the lab.
NAFDAC really needs to, it's interesting you've given the example of NAFDAC, and when you think about what is currently happening in Lagos, even though they say they're still investigating, but there is this talk of people, there's a thread among some people who drank some, contaminated tiger nut drink, not certified by NAFDAC. Yes. And one would say that if the process were easy, if it were a lot easier, perhaps, businesses would be willing, to know that it's not going to take me so long. I don't need a consultant. I can do it myself, and get themselves certified, know what they need to do to keep their environment clean and not kill people. Because right now, people are losing their lives, for things that are totally avoidable. I'm just a little curious as to when you're looking at making the processes easier, is it that you're looking to reduce the number of forms that I feel some people don't like forms at all? They will find ways to get around it. Or is it that, precisely what is it? Yesterday I listened to somebody tell me about how she tried to get a SCOMO for, is it an NGO, and she had to travel from Agidingbi to Apapa, from Apapa to Isolo, even though she was meeting help along the way. All of that traveling, I'm just wondering, for something that we just want to make easier for small businesses, if an NGO has to go through that, how much more a business?
I agree. So which is why at all of our offices now, we set up a one-stop shop. So all the things that you need. So first of all, the problem of information. All the things that you need to start scale, you can get it. So I have sister government agencies, NEPC, which is in charge of investment, in charge of exports, NIPC in charge of investment, SON, CAC, these are sister organizations. So all the information from my sister organizations are readily available at our state offices. I give an instance, in terms of removing the wait time. So the other is the wait time. Something like CAC, registering a company in Nigeria right now, is less than 48 hours. Right? But in that scenario where an NGO needs to get SCOMO, all the information that she needed, right? Rather than going from one office to another, she can just go to SMEDAN as a one-stop shop and she gets all the information. So we would also encourage the small businesses to visit our offices. In the case where she has gone to these places and she can't get it, then she escalates to, the first point of call is the Ministry of Commerce and Trade in the different states. And if they can't solve it there, then they bring it to the council. Then our job is to make sure that it's easy to run businesses here. It's easy for anyone to start something and make it profitable.
Because what is usually happening, what happens is that I'm looking at the figures. I say we had over 40 million MSMEs registered as at 2017.
Yes.
Also, the numbers should be way bigger by now.
Yes.
How many of them are still functional even from that 2017 is not something I will know. But if, for instance, you have said that one of the ways you're reaching these people is through social media. I do not know if they are, when you say social media, precisely, is it Twitter, is it Instagram, where precisely are you?
So we're using Instagram, we're using Twitter, we're using LinkedIn, we're using Facebook to engage all of our community members. And also, we have if you take an industry like food, right, there's some influencers there, right, people listen to. We're engaging them as well. So we're not leaving no stone unturned. We're using every way to reach out to make sure that we counter fake news. 1, 2, make sure that everyone is brought abreast with what we're doing. Speaking about the businesses that are operational now since 2017, our last count showed that we lost some businesses. One due to COVID-19 in 2020, but also because of insecurity, and we're tackling that head on. But we've started to engage. The IG of police has given us a couple of ways to circumvent security, and then we've said to our people, if you see something, say something. You can't suffer in silence. Speak out, so that we can help you. And that's why we're set up as a government agency. Well,
I hope that government has been very aggressive with that, intervention in terms of letting people know what it is to do. Because sometimes people just think it's about starting a business, can be a cooking business, and they think the moment I have a camera, do people know what to do with that one in terms of getting on social media and getting, content produced, etc., etc. But they're not the moment government is about to come in, then they begin to shrink, and they're a little confused. So would you say that increasingly businesses know what to do to be a little more formal so that they can be recognized by government and also get the help that they need when they need?
Absolutely. So the first level of formalizing your business in Nigeria today is the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, right? Because if you look at us as humans, right, you're only identified when you're registered. Someone can be in a society and just existing, doesn't have BVN, NIN, bank account, we don't know him, right? So to let us know that you are a formalized entity, according to Nigeria's laws, CAC is the first point of contact. And you can register a business in CAC today in less than 48 hours. The reason why a lot of small businesses are shying away, and like I agree what you say, is that when government gets involved, they feel like, okay, when I register in CAC, I start getting taxed. No. Right now, if you do a revenue of less than 25 million naira, you don't even pay taxes. Right? And you don't know these things, but you get incentives. You get incentives in terms of business development services from SMEDAN. You get, in some cases, cheap loans. You get grants. You get common facilities. So right now, we've set up common facilities because we understand that it's very expensive to run a business. So what the government has done is has taken a lot of industrial development centers, mapped it across the country. And what we've done is first of all, we're giving you access to cheap loan. Then you can come into that facility. You don't have to buy. If you're in garments, cotton, like you're talking about, cottage, you don't have to buy the sewing machines. You don't have to maintain the sewing machines. You don't bother yourself about power. You just come here, get loans, go and buy your material, come here, sew it, book a time, book a machine, sew. You can warehouse if you want to, and then distribute it anywhere in Nigeria. At zero cost to the small business.
That is happening already?
It's happening. I would love to invite you to Idu. It's happening here, just behind you, close to the train station.
Nice.
All right.
Ayo has questions for you.
It's actually, I'd like to start from that very last question that you asked, about the fact that they don't get to pay tax when they haven't made up to 25 million naira in a year. But then there is the space of documentation, because that's the only proof that they haven't made up to 25 million naira in a year, leading to the awareness or knowledge of the young people, particularly those in the nano, micro, small and medium enterprises, about business. Is there any kind of business mentoring or business education initiatives for them so that they don't find them, at least they know what to do, and whoever comes, just as you have described, they can tell the person to go, to the next house or something?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, Ayo. So in terms of business mentoring, we've certified, at our last count, approximately 200 business development service providers, right? And these service providers are the guys who are offering mentorship, offering business advice to our small businesses across the 36 states and the FCT. So on our website, we've identified and we'll let you know who these business service providers are. And in many cases, you don't pay. The small businesses don't pay for these services. The next point of call is our office. We've set up a one-stop shop in all of our state offices where you need all the information that you need, you get them, at our state offices. And on a monthly basis, we organize the small business clinic. And it's just set up like a health clinic where you come as a small business, you get diagnosed, we understand what problems that you're faced with, and then we start to give you innovative, meticulously planned out solutions for all of your businesses. In other climes, we have products for cooperatives. So our One Local Government, One Product initiative, for instance, is a product where we give not one-to-one right now, but one-to-many. We solve the problems of businesses in a cooperative, we solve the problems of businesses in a business member organization, where we give them, in many cases, funds, right? 70% of the funds go as loans to the cooperative, and 30% go as grant to the cooperative. And this money is to be used for working capital, to be used for work tools, and for the cooperatives to be able to procure workspaces. And with this money is disbursed, we also do a lot of capacity development trainings for the cooperatives. So for small businesses out there watching this, one of the things I'll say is please identify with a business member organization, identify with a cooperative. So if you actually even miss our intervention as on a one-to-one basis, you can never miss it, as a cooperative, as a member of a cooperative or a member of a business member organization.
Okay, well, quite a lot to unpack in all the things that you're saying, and I have very little time. However, I'll still take you up on this. First of all, what are the top performing MSME sectors in Nigeria? We had the privilege, Channels Television spoke with Alibaba, who I'm sure you know very well, concerning the creative industry. And he mentioned to us that the creative industry alone before the Fashola government ended, was making something in the region of 16 billion naira every weekend in Lagos alone. Cascading that to now will be something in the region of 20 to 25 billion naira every weekend in the city of Lagos alone. And according to him, the Nigeria Economic Summit Group doesn't even capture the creative industry as a significant industry in Nigeria. So I'm just asking you, what are the top MSME sectors in the country that that the people who are in it or who are not even in it or not aware of it can get into, that will be profitable for them?
So as a development organization in Nigeria, we've identified 7 top performing industries. One has to do with the creative industry in terms of cottage, fashion, hides and skin and leather. And what we've done is we've provided a common facility for small businesses in that sector to actually do a lot of work at a reduced cost. And we've started a campaign which is called Wear Nigeria, for instance. Like what I'm putting on now is made in Nigeria, right? So like Wear Nigeria, supporting all those small businesses in that region. The second is the food, fast-moving consumer goods sector. What we've done is we've also set up a lab that will be NAFDAC certified in the coming weeks, where small businesses in packaging, in foods can come and use the lab and then almost immediately start to sell. And in that we've teamed it Eat Nigeria, where all the businesses in the horticulture, agriculture, poultry, fishery can actually take advantage of the initiative that was set up in Eat Nigeria so that they can actually produce for local consumption and also for export. The third is Watch and Listen Nigeria. We're watching the numbers in our Nollywood music industry, and we're seeing that is top performing. Our music is being consumed in Nigeria and out of Nigeria, our movies as well. And then we've teamed this Watch and Listen Nigeria. The fourth is our small manufacturing industries, right? Those who are manufacturing cosmetics, those who are manufacturing food, those who are manufacturing household items. So those we've teamed under Produce Nigeria. And there are 3 others. One is the Visit Nigeria initiative, and the other is the Patronize Nigeria, because our services industry is also very booming. And the numbers that we're seeing is that a lot of small businesses are in the service industry, and then they're doing record numbers. So all of this is marked under the Grow Nigeria initiative. Grow is GROW. G stands for guidance, R stands for resources, O stands for opportunities, and W stands for workforce support. And this is the support that we give small businesses in the MSME ecosystem under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Doris Uzoka-Anite.
question that one of my colleagues asked you there the other time, talking about perception of government trust. And you also spoke to that once government steps in, people begin to perish. So how are you changing that perspective? Because even as we speak right now, I don't know, I've not gotten on X to see how people are responding to this yet, but how are you planning to change that perception? How are you working with who to change the perception of trusting any government agency such as SMEDAN?
Thank you so much. That's a very, very important question, Ayo. And for us in government, it's one of the things that I've met when I've come in. And so how I'm tackling that head on is, first of all, transparency, using technology to advance many of the work that we're doing, so that like I said earlier, the son of a nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. You can take advantage of all the programs that we're doing without even knowing, we have this, I know I'm now my party, without having any party, without knowing anybody in government, you can take advantage of all of the things that we're doing. So if you go on our website, all of our programs are there, and then you stand a fair chance of being a participant at the program by just applying online. So for those who do not have access to internet, because we know digital penetration is also very low, we're using their gatekeepers. We're using the cooperatives, which is why we go into a city and we work with the cooperatives, and then we disseminate a lot of information to the cooperatives, and that information can also be vetted online by anyone who just veers to cross-check what it is that the cooperative is saying vis-a-vis what's available on the SMEDAN website. So one is using technologies to scale, and secondly is working with the gatekeepers, working with the people in the rural communities, because one of our mandates at SMEDAN is in accordance to job creation is also rural industrialization, poverty elevation, and livelihood enhancement. And we can't be in all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria at the same time. So what we're doing is we're using our stakeholders, leveraging our state offices, but also working with local government chairmen. So we met with the head of all the local government associations in Nigeria, and what we said to them is, please give us a space, first of all, so that small businesses in your local government can come and co-create, but also we want to work with you as the local government chairman to make sure that all the information that we're disseminating at the federal level is also being consumed at the local level. So answering your question in short, we're using technology in one climb, but also we're using the gatekeepers, we're working with cooperatives, we're working with the communities to make sure that no one is left behind and everyone is carried along and can benefit from government programs.
One more thing before we go. I see lots of people also saying, yes, agencies need to publish their requirements so people can know what they need in order to avoid all of those fake people coming to tax them. Then they say it's difficult for small businesses to access loans. That's what I'm reading here. So they want to know, how do they access facilities from SMEDAN? So
accessing facilities from SMEDAN come in two folds. Because like I was saying to Mokwe, we don't have the bank yet. So what we do, in some clients, we work with the microfinance banks. For the one local government, one product that I was speaking about, we work with the microfinance banks. And that kind of loan is disbursed through the cooperatives and the community heads. So one of the ways that they can access is, please join the cooperative. Join a business member organization. And so when the cooperative access the funds, you can access the funds through the cooperative. So in this one climb, I visited, I don't know if you've been to Mende, the cane village. There's some guys in Mende where they make...
Under the bridge, yeah?
Yes, under the bridge. They make baskets. They make fantastic work, right? So one of the things that we do, we'll fund the cooperative. So if you're a member of that cooperative, you can access that fund. That's in one climb. Other climb, just come to our website, www.smedan.gov.ng, and then you can look at the loan application and see all the programs that are available, and then apply online.
All right. So many rivers to cross, I guess, but of course, journey of, you know what they say, 1,000 miles. Just go with a step, and you surely will get there. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Charles Odi, DG and CEO of SMEDAN. Well, coming up now is Business Morning on Sunrise Daily.